It was an absolutely crazy idea, which ended up working.
You just said what every founder wished they could have.
I finally learned how to deal with the financial side of being a startup founder.
That is probably the hardest person to satisfy. It's hard to say goodbye to the grind.
You hear a lot about the B word, the burnout word.
All these challenges with better mental health.
It took me 2.5 years to get to that point. Only 4 weeks with a coach.
I mean, music to my ears. So, Dennis, we are sitting here today. You just successfully sold your company and exited.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thanks.
How does it feel compared to a year ago?
I think that the main feeling that popped up was a relief. It's a lot of stress, a lot of scenarios. Before we met, there's a lot of scenarios that run through your head, and those were the scenarios I was constantly dealing with in my mind. So the main feeling was relief, and it's also, joy, proudness. So those were the main 3 feelings that definitely came to my mind after signing, after putting the pen to the paper.
Yeah. Take me back. So a year ago, where were you at compared to this feeling of you got the contract and you just refreshed and you're like, oh my God, relief. I know we met exactly 1 year ago.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So take me back. What were you feeling? What were you thinking? What was happening?
I think, first of all, 1 year ago, if you founders, they will 100% relate with this. 1 year in founder/startup time feels like 5 years. So I'm saying this because, our first hire, it feels like I've worked with him for 10 years, but he joined January 25. So yeah, for the time notion, but 1 year ago, it was, me powering through the work that I had, spending 0 time on, mental health.
What were you feeling while you were grinding 14, 16 hours a day, coding, trying to make it behind the computer?
It still is I think the tough part is hopefully most of the founders, they love what they're doing. So those 14 hours grinding, they don't feel like 14 hours. And it's only in hindsight or when you start talking to a coach that you realize that it's actually not that healthy what you're doing. But the 14 hours of grinding, people say, oh, you work so hard. But when you're doing that, it just feels like a normal workday. Because it consumes all of your mental capacity, that your day is not 8 hours of working and 8 hours or 12 hours of something else. No, it's just work and sleep. So yeah, it feels like a normal working day because you worked, but you just don't do anything else anymore. So that's a bit the feelings that I have when I think back of those grinding days. Yeah.
Tell me, what made you actually reach out? I mean, why did you get a coach? Why not just power through all the other guys you were seeing?
This is a bit shameful to admit, but I think my New Year's resolutions of 2024, I was still full-time employed. I was already working on the startup. Was already hey, I want to reach out to a therapist or a coach. I've just recently moved to Portugal, so it was alone in a new country. It just felt like the right thing to do. I didn't follow up on that at all during the entirety of 2024. And then it was the 1st of January 2025, or maybe a couple days into January, and I start writing down again my New Year's resolutions. And I was like, this is funny. This is the exact same resolution I put down on paper 1 year ago. So I wrote down again, this year, we're really going to talk to somebody that is a therapist, a coach, a mentor. I'm going to hold myself accountable. I think it was April 2025, 4 months in, still not, not even reaching out to somebody, not even taking that first step. I remember we talked a lot about the first step in our session. So, and then we had a discussion with the founders, like, I think this is the right thing to do. And that was like the discussion with my co-founders was that first step for me. So immediately the first week, I reached out to 3 coaches. And with the best of the 3, I'm sitting here right now. So yeah, that was eventually how I decided, or how I got to your doorstep.
Yeah. And what were those challenges? So you were grinding, you were really not living life the way you wanted to. Tell me a little bit about what specifically were the challenges you wanted to address during the coaching.
The main challenge, I think were 2 or 3 that I initially contacted you with, but the main challenge for me was the financial anxiety. And even saying it right now, like anxiety, it's like, wow, did I really have anxiety? Because it sounds like such a harsh, big word. But if I look back, yeah, it was. So that was the main challenge, as well as like organizing a little bit my life, managing the stress of the founder life. Those were the problems I was dealing with.
Yeah. And I had your email right here. I wrote down a couple of notes, and it mentioned that you wanted to understand the future, your financials, and your leadership. As I say this to you now, what was the most frustrating thing about all these topics? I mean,
partially it's like procrastination of clarity. Like I never wrote down like, how many taxes do I have to pay? Is it 10%? Is it 20%? Is it 30%? Is it 40%? Which left me like wondering, how much money do I actually have? So, and those thoughts, they roll up, they it becomes like a little snowball. You go back to your home country, my home country, which is the Netherlands, and then start comparing to other people that have super stable jobs, and it just gets worse. That's the main the main issue I was dealing with, that constant thoughts of finances, like, was this the right decision? And I also had a really cool job before, and then I was like, my life was definitely better mentally, or the work-life balance was definitely better in my previous job. So these thoughts, they stack up, and then at some day your day is just filled with grinding and worries, and that is not a pleasant day,
No, it isn't. But you did something about it.
Yeah. So I say we because we have an agreement with the founders, but I think I'm the only one that actually took this step. So yeah, I reached out. I think the tough part was writing down my issues, or admitting my issues, my problems, my struggles. The easy part was just clicking send. These are my problems. Now I'm sending them to the coach, and let's hope there was a response. So yeah, that was the first plan of action, which was, in hindsight, was an easy step to take. So I'm surprised that not as many people do this. Yeah.
And in the first few weeks of working together, what felt different already?
So when I was like the months, years before the sessions, the coaching sessions, well, not months and years, let's say the 1.5 years before that, when I was really working on the startup, some people, they say like, oh, sometimes you're in a tunnel and there's no light at the end of the tunnel. Like, I didn't even feel like I was in a tunnel. I just felt like I don't know where I was going. And immediately after the first 2 sessions, I think it was, I felt at least I was heading in a good direction. I had things that, you know, I felt like I was improving some elements of myself. I remember like my first reaction was, it's actually great to talk 1 hour about yourself, because in a normal conversation, you wouldn't do that. It just feels very selfish. And that's what the coaching is for, right? It's all about you. And that just felt great to talk to just, I don't know, just to, there's this thing that happened last week, and just get that off your mind. And like, it's just an instant, an instant relief. Like, it gives a lot of energy. It gives really a lot of energy. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you remember some of the exercises we did?
I think we said, okay, let's talk about the most important things in your life, or where do you want to be when you're 50 years old? I remember writing down some things of what I wanted to have when I was 50 years old. And I realized, like, it's not going too bad. Like maybe the dog was missing, but and then we defined ways of getting there. And then we also created like a 40-hour work week, which we said, okay, how many hours of these 40 hours would you then spend on each of these items? Which was a great exercise, because when you look, like, you tell yourself, oh, I want to spend 10 of those 40 hours on relations, friends, girlfriend, husband, and then you're looking at the actual time you're spending on that. And you're like, I'm actually not putting in the time that I think it's worth. So it's like, giving another view of like a good reflection of your current time division, or how you're currently spending your time. And yeah, it was a really nice exercise for me. One of the weird things, I'm not sure if it was your suggestion or my own suggestion, but I thought it was an absolutely crazy idea, which ended up working, which was just putting in 1 hour of time in my calendar, my work calendar, of like, I'm going to play guitar Wednesday from 2 p.m. to 3 p.m. And, it might sound like a crazy thing to do, but it actually worked for me. So I'm very glad that either you or I made that suggestion. I'm still not a pro guitar player, unfortunately, but...
Hey, we're getting there. It's all about the progress, right? The journey.
The grind. No.
No, it's not about the grind anymore. It's hard to say goodbye to the grind, right? Because
it is so tough. It is so damn tough.
It just gets sucked in. It's just what you know.
It's what you know. It's what, what gives you the dopamine. And yeah, it's very tough to say goodbye to the grind, even after exiting.
We were going through this phase while you were implementing lots of systems, lots of new habits.
Yeah.
I'm actually quite curious, at which point did you feel like things started shifting? So you mentioned like the second session, we started implementing these different systems, but when did things really change for you?
Yeah, really quickly, to be honest. I feel like already after 2 or 3 hours, like each session was an hour, 15 minutes maybe. I don't remember quite well, but after 2 to 3 weeks, we had these like systems, things that I was trying out. So instead of having the mind wander about all these things that are, uncertain, you're spending your thinking time on the system and pinpointing like, okay, I'm going to spend my time like this. I'm going to divide my money like this. I'm going to close my laptop at 6 p.m. So you're thinking about the solution instead of the uncertainties like, oh, what if? So that left me with a lot of inner peace already after 2 to 3 weeks. And it's like really portrayed in my social life. at the workspace as well. Yeah.
That's incredible, because in just 2 or 3 weeks you felt a difference. And tell me about some of these wins. I mean, I want to understand. So you started changing your habits. You started doing the work. You already took the first step that you mentioned your co-founders consider doing, but you did it, right?
Yeah.
So you're going through all this change. You're going through this journey. Tell me about some of the wins already within, let's say, halfway through the coaching.
Yeah. So, I mean, the biggest win for me was I finally accepted, I finally learned how to deal with, the financial side of being a startup founder. From the we were 4 co-founders in total. I was always the most stressed about these financials, mainly because the others were not first-time founders, and I am. So immediately, like, seeing that go away, learning how to deal with it, using the system, that was a really, I mean, I wanted to say easy win, but it was not easy after all, right? It took me 2.5 years to get to that point. Only 4 weeks with the coach, which makes me doubt whether I should have done it way earlier. But yeah, that was super quick and big win. Lots of time to spend on other things all of a sudden. Yeah, like this block.
What did you spend your time on instead of worrying?
I'm saying like time left, but it's more like, even if you're going out on a Friday for a dinner, or you have a birthday dinner, or you're at the beach, the mind is still thinking about the business. And a lot of people say, yeah, but that's being a founder. That's what it is. No, for me, that's just not how it is. And you, like, even like, you have to be present. You have to be focused, right? If I'm in a one-on-one with one of my teammates, and if my mind is wandering off, I would feel bad for that person. Same for if I'm at a birthday dinner and my mind is just thinking about the business. Like, is that really how it's supposed to be? No. So that just, I was still doing the same things, but was just enjoying all of a sudden. Which, yeah, that feels great, obviously. So
what do you think is that magic switch? Because I feel like you just said what every founder wished they could have, to kind of have this switch to be able to fully enjoy, to give themselves permission to enjoy.
Yeah. I mean, it's a very, very tough question. I feel the answer lies a little bit in, like, is there one tip that I can give that's going to just flip your life in one day? No. That's why I went to find a coach. But one thing is setting up the boundaries, defining your boundaries, and that's one of the things that we did very early on. I think for me personally speaking, I live together with my girlfriend. If I would have been living alone on my own, no relationship inside, it would have been very tough to stick to those boundaries. So yeah, those are, I think, for me the turning points, or the key things that really help me make that flip, that switch.
Yeah. And I love how you're saying setting boundaries. I mean, music to my ears as a coach, but I feel that often people think it's theoretical, right? And do you mind giving us some examples of what those boundaries are and how you actually stuck to it from yourself?
One of the first things I I've set to myself, because I mean, just to give a little bit of an insight in how my life was before the boundaries is 6 a.m. wake up, brush my teeth, take a shower, 6:15, 6:20, behind my laptop with breakfast. Probably whenever my girlfriend was tired of me working, she would tell me like, okay, now it's been too much. And that will typically be 7 p.m., 8 p.m. So it's like 6:30 in the morning to 7:30 at night every day, even in the weekends. So the first boundary was very easy. We're not opening the laptop until 7:30 in the morning, which even that was a big step for me. Right now it's become 1 hour later, 8:30.
I love that. Yes.
We're getting, hopefully one day it's going to be 10:30. But that was the first boundary that I've set. And I asked my girlfriend to help me with these things, right? Like, this is the plans that I made with my coach. Please also try and help with this. She was more than willing to help on this, obviously. So that was the first boundary, yeah. And then I think the second boundary or requirement was I just booked 1 hour of my hobby, which learning how to play guitar, each week in my calendar, which I had to stick to. So those were the first two things that I held myself accountable for.
I'm quite curious about how this showed up in your work life, right? So you're starting to set these boundaries, right? You mentioned that you also had co-founders and people you're managing.
Yeah.
What was different about you?
Like realizing that also 10 hours a day of work is accepted it changed a lot in the everyday in the every work, I'd say in each work day.
Absolutely. Yeah. Because at the end of the day, you were not really answering to them. You were answering to yourself and your own standards.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just the idea is like, oh, it would be so nice to have this finished by tomorrow. There's no investor that's saying we need to have this by tomorrow. No, it's me that's just thinking of these ideas and wanting to finish them in a certain time. Yeah. All self-inflicted.
All self-inflicted. And yet that is probably the hardest person to satisfy, right? Yourself.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about, so we talked about the financial side and the stress. So what about when you were transitioning into your role? So one of the topics where we kind of touched upon was also your leadership, right? And your communication with not only the people you manage, but the co-founders. What shifted?
Yeah, the main shift was, right, I always, I just, especially because of the tech role that I have, I just went from being a developer to being a developer with a C title. And then all of a sudden I had to, get more people on board to build the product. So the leadership side that changed was basically knowing that it's not just you that needs to deliver something. Well, I'm responsible for the delivery, but there's no set out way on how to get there. So, I've always remain myself, still make silly jokes and still help people with like the easiest tasks. But I think the main thing is the responsibility, the direction, being, let's say, a unqualified coach for the people that I lead, trying to give a little reflection of what I see in the sessions to them. So that really transpired into my leadership, I'd say. Yeah.
How did you start talking about your feelings and your expectations with co-founders or the people you're managing?
So whenever we were gathering with the founder meetups, we would always have a specific conversation about, your feelings. What do you think should change? What do you think goes well? And in that part, I was very vocal. I said, "Look, guys, I am the tech guy. You're 3 guys shouting at me what you want, and I need to fix it." It's not nice sometimes, it's like a football field, and there's only angry parents shouting at their children for not scoring the perfect goal. So just being vocal on how things come across to me, like aligning on expectations with the founders. Those conversations, because we're digital, the conversations are very tough to have digitally. So being in person with my co-founders, that was really, really helpful. And we did these meetups each other month, so every 2 months.
That's amazing. And I'm just curious. So you kind of opened up, you set your systems, you went on this path of personal development, started making a lot of changes. What do you think would have happened? And this is hypothetical, like, what do you think would have happened if we didn't do this coaching journey together? Where would you be right now?
Yeah, that I had given this a thought the other week, and you hear a lot about the B word, the burnout word. So I honestly think without having these boundaries, having these systems, or light at the end of the tunnel, I would have spent another year in the same pace that I was doing. So just 70-hour work weeks and just spending all my free time, so to say, on overthinking and bad scenarios. So I can't even imagine being there right now. Yeah,
I think a lot of people don't talk about that, right?
Yeah.
What gave you the courage to do so?
To talk about
all these challenges, to seek help, because I think a lot of people are going through what you're going through, and you're actually at the other side. You're at this this goal that a lot of people dream about, with better mental health too.
Yeah.
So what gave you the courage to actually go through and change and seek help and to avoid that burnout that was imminent?
So unfortunately, I've seen quite a lot of colleagues or old study friends that went into these very high pressure fields like corporate finance and investment banking, that went into a burnout. So seeing those examples or hearing like, that person you remember from our studies, he's in a burnout. It's like, wow, that guy, like such a great fun guy during the studies, like seeing it up close, feeling the internal pressure, the steam building up. My girlfriend again, honorable mention. And actually one of my friends also was talking about the startup, and she's like, after that she said, I think you should really talk to a therapist, Dennis. And I was like, okay, this is like a serious thing, like, of course your friends, well, your close friends are always honest to you. So having all these before mentioned examples, like the people around you having a burnout, hearing it from friends, even having that feeling yourself, it was all the indications were there that I should do this. It was a tough first step for sure, but all the indications were there. All the bells were ringing. All the lights on the dashboards were shining.
And you were listening to them. And I feel like a lot of people focus on like the outcome. They focus how much you exited for, the due diligence. They talk about the process, the after process, right? the part that is very external and visible. What do you think made this a successful exit for you?
It brings peace, it brings time, it relieves or my thoughts. I won't say your for everybody, but it gives you more time and capability to enjoy that time. I'm still full-time employed, so I'm not talking about like actual like lower or fewer working hours, but just a mental capacity to actually enjoy the time.
And now that you have this level of clarity, what do you think is your next step?
My next step, I've had many thoughts, but for now, we still want to. We exited the company, and we still want to grow the business. We're mainly in 3 markets, English-speaking markets. We want to internationalize this much more. But for me, the next step is not necessarily in a business-wise, but more in like a mental health way of thinking about life. So where can I be in 5 years if I've, let's say, completely mastered this peace, having peace of mind? If I like, how can I enjoy the most everything except work? Thinking about that, like I have the time now to think about that, and I have the clarity to think about that. So this is more where I see the next chapter, really enjoying to the fullest the free time. Still enjoyed my job, which is still the same. I'm still coding. I'm still love diving into AI and all the hype terms that are currently being used. But I feel that the biggest win still to get there, or to get in my personal life, is not in work, but in the other side.
I think that is really beautiful to hear, because often we see people who tie their identity and their worth to what they produce, the output, and who they are at work and what they achieved externally. What does this unlock for you? Because right now you have so much possibility, right? I remember when we first talked in this session, maybe a year ago, you told me, I would love to bring my mom on a safari. I don't know if that's going to be crossed off the bucket list, but like, what is your goal now? And how does this unlock other steps for you?
Yeah, it's a great question. And I remember one day after I signed a deal, I was laying in bed, still a little bit of a hangover, obviously. But I said out loud to my girlfriend, I said, what's next? And she answered me, what do you mean, what's next? Enjoy, relax. Like, you don't need to keep going. Like, and that's, I'm still on there's no real next station, or there's not like, I don't really have a point like, oh, I want to grow the business to this many clients. I'm now just enjoying the time, letting time pass, crossing off some things off the bucket list, like the safari, and still needed to think about what's the next step, and I feel like it's a great spot to be in. Maybe I'm going to be in the same spot for 5 years, thinking about what I really want to do. But for now, I'm where I want to be.
I love that for you. And I'm actually curious for founders facing similar challenges, right? Whether it's financial anxiety, whether it's about stress, maybe it's about also leadership or identity, purpose. What would you advise them to do?
First and foremost, get a coach. Take that selfish time. Talk about yourself with the coach or with the mentor, or with a therapist. I would also highly recommend, like, probably when you're a founder, and you hear get a coach, like, okay, I'll just talk to my partner or my best friend. It's not the same. You really, you need to get yourself into a certain mind space. Like, okay, I'm here to improve myself, and you will enter that mind space when you're talking to somebody that is a coach. So do that first, and then I think the second thing would be like define where you want to be in 10, 20 years and try and draw a path to how you think you're going to get there. This is maybe a little bit vague, but in this way you can kind of kill the uncertainty. Most of the anxiety or overthinking comes from uncertainty, I believe. And once you get rid of it, you start dropping these thoughts. You stop to overthink, and that's what brought me peace of mind, and that's would be my main recommendation.
How would you describe in 1 year your journey to where you were to where you are now?
It's been a fast ride. So before we had our first session, it was me being, I was thinking about the taxes and my income, comparing myself to friends that have super good jobs and high incomes, and I was buried in under work, doubting my decision. Was this the right decision I have taken? The decision was taken. Like I had to deal with it, and just spending so much time thinking about these things. So that was day one. Well, day minus 360 to day one, a long period. Then we started the sessions. It immediately gave me the benefits that we talked about, right? It gave me more peace of mind. I saw light at the end of the tunnel, and that was just after like 2-3 weeks. Then after that, we had more sessions. We made even more systems. At some point, I remember in the sessions we were thinking about, okay, cool, this is going pretty well. Like, what are we gonna do next? And I was like, wow, this is great. I don't actually know what we're gonna do next. So that went really well. All of a sudden, there were conversations with a potential investor / buyer, and then there were 3 to 5 months of a very stressful period, mainly because it was other people that had, like, we're 4 co-founders, and it was kind of a 3v1 scenario where I was like, okay, I just want to take the security. I just want to take the stability. So those were 3 to 5 very stressful months because it was other people that had the control. At some point, it just started clicking. There was really, like, we saw the end of the tunnel, and we were arriving there, and then the deal was signed. It was an unreal experience, super fast, super fast. We even had talks roughly a year ago where, like, okay, but what if there is a buyer? Yeah, I mean, and I was like, why are we even spending our founders meetup to talk about this? This is not going to happen. And it happened very fast. So, and now 2 months later, 3 months later, in the new company, we're all working in the company that acquired us. It's been a crazy journey, and it's, I'm trying to, like, summarize what feels like 10 years of life events into a 1 minute how do you say, anecdote, but it's tough to do that. But yeah, that's been roughly the last year.
What an amazing journey. And I think it's really inspiring because not only are you vulnerable with what you went through, but you're really living the dream, I think, that a lot of people envision. And you always believed in it, right? You were grinding and you were just going through this very painful process. But you came out of this other side because of a lot of different Lego bricks.
Yeah. The thing when you said you've always believed in it, there were definitely some moments, the moment where we had 0 clients where I didn't believe in it. In hindsight, it's always more easy to say things, but if you just, have your mental health in order, you stick to the plan, you calculate, you think about the scenarios that can happen, the bad ones, the good ones, the okay ones, it's going to be fine. And that's exactly what the session showed me.
What's your dream now?
Ooh, the dream now. I feel like the dream now is to find another goal. Well, not another, like, it's not like a high achiever goal, but to find something that still really motivates me, that I really enjoy, get to know more of the world, maybe, help in any way I can now with after having this exit. There's many thoughts there. Taking one of my hobbies more professional, cooking. I've already read online is that the fastest way to lose money is to start your own restaurant. So there's many ideas, but and the dreams that we talked about, right? I remember mentioning in one of our sessions was living in a hot place, having a nice barbecue in the garden, having a garden, first of all. Those are still my dreams. I can realize them today, but I don't know where, when, and those are still my dreams.
I love it. Yeah, I remember the whiteboard, the vision board. Yeah, I hope that we can stay in touch and that you're going to not just cross it off, but you're going to add more to it.
Yeah.
Because it's so expansive, right? I feel like people think dreams are fixed and that the goal is fixed and that once you achieve it, you're like, okay, what next? But maybe there's something even more expansive, right? And that you can keep continuing filling that out, adding more dreams, adding more feelings. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll let you know if I have a new next dream.
I love it.
I remember we have 1 or 2 sessions left, so I might hit you up again.
Hit me up, Dennis, anytime. Thanks for that.
Thank you so much.